Today we're going to look at the 5 major reasons you should definitely not move to Vernon BC. And we're starting now. I'm Lisa Salt with RE/MAX Vernon Salt Fowler, and today we're going to look at the major factors why you may not want to make the decision to move to Vernon. I was born and raised here, and all the things I'm going to talk about today are nothing to me. They're just the way it is here. However, I do acknowledge that Vernon is not perfect, and before you consider making a move here, you should know the bad and the ugly as well as the good. Many people move to the Okanagan for a variety of reasons. There's lots of reasons. We have people coming from Alberta, from Vancouver. We're getting more and more folks here even from Ontario. And if you're from another province or another city in BC, you should know what you're getting yourself into before you make the big decision to make the move here. And make sure you stick around till the end of this video, because if you're interested in Vernon, I can tell you how to download our absolutely free relocation package. Number 1 on our list of why you may not want to move to Vernon is extreme weather. Now, you may love coming to Vernon in the summertime when it's beautiful and hot and you enjoy the lakes, or alternatively, you come for a ski vacation and you get that powdery, beautiful snow. And it's real snow, by the way. We don't make that stuff. That's straight from Mother Nature. However, you do have to know that when it's hot, it is really, really hot. Sometimes it feels like we go straight from winter into summer and boom, yesterday we were freezing and today your air conditioning is on. And you think, what just happened? Yesterday it was plus 10 degrees Celsius and today it's 30. It's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the picture. And then when it's cold, it can be really cold. When the cold comes though, it generally stays and it's consistently cold for months. It's not like in the prairies where you get all 4 seasons in one day. We pick a season, we stick with it. I would not buy here without air conditioning though. I would not recommend that. Now usually we will get winter, and when I say winter I mean snow, around mid-November, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, like this past season. And usually temperatures, they vary like from minus 10 degrees Celsius to plus 10. However, we can also get a week or more of minus 20, maybe it'll even go to minus 30. The good news though is when winter is gone, it's gone. We don't normally experience a foot of snow like say in Alberta. You just brought out the flip-flops, you've got a tea time, and you wake up to a couple inches of snow. Our weather is pretty reliable that way. Like I say, we pick a season and we commit to it for a few months before we move on. I should also mention, in the winter, no clear skies. I shouldn't say no clear skies, but not a lot, not that often. We have the infamous inversion when the temperature is cooler at the surface and there's warmer air above. It can make winter days dark and gloomy because the clouds get trapped in the valley. So in order to see sun, you have to get above that layer of clouds, which sometimes means, it might mean going up to the Rise subdivision. Or you just may have to go to Silver Star to get right out of it. Of course, sometimes when we have too much of that excessive heat, we can get those horrific forest fires in the Okanagan, and really the whole province, as this past year indicated. The Okanagan is certainly not alone in feeling the effects of the wildfires, but we do have our fair share. Then the odd time, if we get extensive snow and tons of spring rain, well, then we have lakes and rivers in the North Okanagan that can flood. So to sum up, one reason you might not want to move to Vernon is the sometimes extreme weather conditions. Summer hot, winter cold. On the bright side, we have a huge list of weather conditions we don't experience, like tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, typhoons, no hail the size of golf balls. Albertans, you know what I mean, I'm talking to you. Anyhow, that's about it for the weather talk. Number 2, Sleepy Hollow. When my husband moved from Calgary to Vernon, he was shocked at how quiet Vernon is. Vernon isn't like Kelowna. There's not that vibrant nightlife. It rolls up pretty early most nights. Summer's a bit of an exception with more people in town and parties, or more people than I imagine the nightlife goes a little bit later. I guess I'm just not part of it, so I don't know that. It is not easy to find a restaurant open past 9 o'clock. Some of the chains are, however, that is about it. Saying that, there are activities, you bet, Fun activities, parties like Funtastic on the July long weekend. That is a big shindig up at the Army camp. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet. If you're looking to party it up or have a lengthy list of entertainment options, you might be a little bit disappointed. However, you're very close to Kelowna. Most places, let's say 45 minutes, and you're in a bigger center that has it all. I like it quiet, maybe you do too, and if so, you'll be happy in Sleepy Hollow. Number 3, let's look at the taxes. If you don't live in BC, you have probably heard that BC means bring cash. It's a bit true, maybe more than a bit true. Albertans are always incensed with paying provincial sales tax of currently 7% on top of the GST that we all pay when we purchase something. Quite a big difference from only having to pay 5% to a total of 12%. I get it. I wish it were different. It isn't, and that's just the way it is. It's a sunshine tax, we call it. Beyond that, though, we have a few more taxes that are super popular. Not. We have the dreaded property transfer tax. When you purchase real estate in BC, now there are some exemptions, BC first-time buyers, etc. However, let's assume you don't qualify for an exemption. That means you will pay 1% of the fair market value up to and including $200,000. Then 2% of the fair market value greater than $200,000 and up to $2 million, and then 3% above $2 million. And if the property has residential property worth over $3 million, a further 2% tax will be applied to the residential property value greater than $3 million. And that is paid for by the buyer, folks. So if you're buying property in BC, you will want to keep that in mind and ensure that you double check these numbers, as they have a tendency of changing. I haven't seen them go down yet, so most likely if they change, they're going this way. Also, new to Greater Vernon in 2024 is the speculation and vacancy tax, expanded just for us, announced in November 23. And you can watch all about that in our aptly named video entitled Speculation and Vacancy Tax in Vernon BC. We felt very fortunate that we were exempt since 2018. Kelowna was included from the get-go, however, Vernon and Coldstream were exempt. However, now 13 additional areas have been added starting in 2024, including not only Greater Vernon, which is Vernon and Coldstream, but also other nearby areas including Penticton, Summerland, Lake Country, Peachland, Salmon Arm, Kamloops, with the balance of the areas located on Vancouver Island. Now, if you aren't living in the house or you aren't renting them out for at least 6 months for the calendar year, you'll need to pay 2% of the property's assessed value for foreign owners and 0.5% for Canadian citizens or permanent residents. There are exceptions there too, but you can hear about them in our video I told you about a few minutes ago. Number 4, let's look at the cost of living. Further to what we said about BC meaning bring cash. One thing we used to have going for us in the Okanagan was the relatively low housing prices compared to other areas, especially the major centers. And there still is a big difference between the average house price in Vernon versus, say, Vancouver or Toronto or even Kelowna. Let's look at some numbers. Vancouver's average price at year-end 2023 was $1.242 million, and the North Okanagan was just over $721,000. And then Kelowna, well, the Central Okanagan, their benchmark price was $966,500 for single-family homes, so also significantly more than Vernon. However, if you're coming from a smaller center, this might be a pretty major sticker shock for you. And when we talk about cost of living here, we aren't just talking about housing, although that is a major component. But let's talk about fuel pricing. I realize that if you're from BC and watching this won't mean much to you. However, if you're from Alberta, there's some significant differences. As I film this, for a liter of regular gas, the cost in Vernon at Esso or Petrocan is $1.45.9, whereas in Calgary, the price of that same gas at those same gas stations is $1.25.9. And in Edmonton, it's anywhere from $1.18.9 to $1.20.9. That extra 20 to 25 cents is, if you look closely, it's because of the additional taxes. BC has the highest gas prices in the country. Vernon is at least less than Vancouver and Victoria. However, because Vernon is off the beaten track a little bit, it results in so many of our goods being trucked to the Okanagan from other places by, guess what, trucks. that have increased fuel prices. And therefore, that extra tax turns into inflationary pressure, higher prices on anything that isn't grown or made in the North Okanagan. And that includes everything that goes into building houses, going back to what we talked about initially with housing prices. Certainly new construction, anyways. However, also the price of roofing materials to replace your roof or furnaces or siding or whatever. This stuff all needs to be transported. So yes, our cost of living is going to be more here. And number 5, international airport. As you know, well, maybe you know, maybe you don't, Vernon doesn't have an international airport. Well, it doesn't really have much of an airport at all. But you say, okay, no problem, Kelowna does. And Kelowna Airport is really only 30 minutes approximately away from the south end of town. No big deal. However, one thing you do need to know, if you are in need of an airport with U.S. border pre-clearance, as of 2024, you are out of luck still, because there is no U.S. pre-clearance in Kelowna. Therefore, you aren't going to find direct flights to many U.S. airports that also don't have U.S. pre-clearance. Apparently, so I'm told anyways. All I know is there won't be a direct flight to Palm Springs, as both airports don't have U.S. pre-clearance. Boo! That could be a factor for some, and therefore the Okanagan may not be an option at all, whether it's Kelowna, whether it's Penticton, whether it's Vernon, for that reason. No U.S. pre-clearance. And those are our top 5 reasons not to move to Vernon. If any of those reasons deter you, I'm sorry to hear that. However, those are the facts. You need to know the facts. We do have a ton of great reasons why Vernon rocks it, and if you'd like to know more, please ensure you download our free relocation package at vernonrelocation.com.